bonsoir. It sounded like it was 80,000 people in here. But what a fortuitous time. I think that was a great panel just before me. I think my takeaway was it's time for investors to get active in Francophone West Africa. How fortunate. So my name is Emeka, and as Steve mentioned, my startup is Gozem. We're building an Uber for motorcycle taxis in West Africa. Okay. So a lot of people, when I say that, they ask me why motorcycle taxis, and also isn't Uber the Uber for Uber in Africa? So if you see the slide, if you travel across Africa, you see scenes like this in most of the major cities, right? So you see motorcycles, and anybody can really be a motorcycle taxi driver. It's an informal economy job. So you see motorcycles, and you have passengers on the back most of the times without a helmet. So this is a staple of the region, right? There are 100 million, that's probably Africa, 10 million, just when we're looking at West Africa, official dedicated motor taxi drivers. And from our research in Lomé, from what we've looked at in Lagos, from what we looked at in Cotonou, the average revenue is $6. So you do the math, it becomes a multi-billion-dollar industry annually. So the other question people ask, relative to Uber's position in the market, Uber is certainly in Africa. Uber is not alone, right? So Taxify is here. Kareem is here in North Africa. But if you really look at where these players are, you see that in the south of Africa and East Africa, you have strong concentrations of Uber and Taxify. In North Africa, Kareem. But if you look at West Africa, especially Francophone West Africa, as the panelists, as the investor just said, it's wide open. Now is the time, and that's what we're doing. So we're operational now in Lomé, Togo. We're going to Cotonou, Benin, start of the year, next year, and we'll also be next year in Cameroon. So after that, the plan is to just expand organically in the adjacent regions in Francophone West Africa and beyond. We're opportunistic. So this is Demo Africa. I should talk about the actual app. So in our case, it's actually two apps. So you have one app for the passenger and another app for the driver. So I'll start with the app for the passenger. So when the passenger wants to take a trip, the passenger sets the pickup location, sets the destination, and is able to choose the payment method. So I just want to pause here, right? So you see on the screen the opportunity to pay in cash. You see the opportunity to pay with your wallet, which is mobile money, and you also see the opportunity to pay with card. As Steve mentioned, I worked for Uber in Nigeria. I was there when Uber was making the transition. I think Lagos was city number 8 or 9 to actually offer cash in the region. And it was a big pain point because Nigeria, as big as Nigeria is, it's still small relative to Uber's priorities. So it's very hard for them to build out the skill set to prioritize on the developer's roadmap cash. I saw that firsthand. So for us, what we're doing, we're day one. We're in tune with the market. We're in tune with what users do, and 90% of users on that photo you just saw use cash. So we're building that from day one. The wallet here is mobile money. We're plugged in with the 2 mobile money operators in Togo already. And finally, after the user selects their payment method, the user can book the trip. That trip request goes to the closest available driver, and that's the screen the driver sees. There's also a sound, right? So the driver has a limited time period to accept the trip. The driver, once he accepts the trip, sees the passenger's location, sees the passenger's other details. He can call the passenger, for instance. And once he arrives, he can notify the passenger he's there. That alerts the passenger's phone, the passenger's app, that the driver is there. Once the passenger is alerted, he comes down, meets the driver. The driver is very easy to identify. He's wearing a branded helmet. He's wearing a branded safety vest. And he has another helmet for the passenger to wear. I should say, when they meet, they also start the trip. So once the trip is started, they go to the destination. At the end of the destination, the driver ends the trip. And with the magic of what we do, we are able to display the trip fare. So how that works, effectively, we calculate fares by kilometer. We charge 80 francs per kilometer. And what we've heard from our users is very, very effective. It's very cheap, is the word I'm looking for. in the marketplace. So the other thing, I just want to emphasize a few things here. The other thing you see here on this collect cash screen is actually opportunity to donner la monnaie. For our English speakers, it's to give change, right? So this is something that, again, you don't see in some of the other apps in the marketplace. It's also why we have a wallet in the application. What I'm really emphasizing is we're really customizing our application for what we see in the market. So in terms of differentiation in general, another key way we want to differentiate from the Ubers of the world, but not just the Ubers, the existing informal economy today, is security. So I talked about the safety, the helmets. I talked about the safety vest. What I haven't talked about yet is the insurance. So every course, every trip on our system is insured. In addition to that, we also have partnered with a provider of emergency services. So in case of an accident, both the driver and the passenger are able to go free or covered to a hospital if necessary. So in terms of other differentiation, we have an app right now, but it's never finished. We're consistently listening to users. We want to be the most user-centric, on-demand company in Africa. So just as a quick example, you could read the slide. I won't go through everything we want to do here, but one thing I do want to call out is the in-app messaging. So that's on a product pipeline. So relative to what we heard, so just why this is even there and what I mean by user-centric. We've heard from some of our drivers, it's not a good experience for them to call the rider and ask the rider, where are you exactly, how can we meet? Because they're using their voice credits in addition to their data credits, right? So it becomes very expensive for them. We also heard from some of our users that I don't want the driver calling me, right? This is why this is an app, right? So everything should just be in the app. So we take that feedback and we say it makes a lot of sense to us. We'll try to see the best way we could do that. And it's on the roadmap. We talked with our team internally. So in terms of where we are now, we're starting again in Lomé, Togo. We've identified 6,000 drivers already. And this is just this is a map of the city with 300 Zemijan stations. So what that means is we've identified where the professional drivers in Lomé are. We identify who they are, and the colors here refer to different stages of our pipeline. We also want to identify them. We want to onboard them, obviously. And these are just photos of our process. What really happens is they come in, we verify who they are, we verify their motorcycle meets our specifications, and we also verify that they could drive. A lot of informal economy drivers don't have licenses. Not all of our drivers have licenses today. We just launched, and within the first 6 months, our goal is for all 100% of our drivers to have licenses. On the user side, so we only launched a APK beta. We're not even available on the App Store yet, but I think it's good. We launched an APK beta just to our Facebook users, and we've seen tremendous engagement just from that. It's a difficult process. Not everybody, especially in Lomé, Togo, knows how to even install an APK, right? So just even walking them through that process, we're trying to be very user-centric and create very strong engagement with our users. So here's what you see. We see a lot of, in the middle, you kind of see a chart of everywhere users have opened the app in Lomé. So we're getting more and more coverage across the city. At your left, you see just the growth in trips, both trips requested and trips completed. And at the right, you see feedback. This is the kind of stuff we love, especially as a recently launched company. It's in French, but you could, if you want to read it, you could go to our Facebook page. The gentleman there is really emphasizing the security, right? So again, this is why we know it makes a difference to users, and he's basically saying he had a great experience. That actually was our first rider, right? This was unprompted. We didn't ask him to do this, but it's just very fortunate. We've also had partnerships, as I mentioned, with the telcos for their mobile money, with insurance, and we had inbound media interest from some of the popular media properties in the Francophone world, from Belgium to elsewhere. So what that tells me is that this is a unique opportunity. There's a lot of people hungry for stories like this. There's a lot, we know. This is why we selected this strategy. But our strategy, I lied earlier when I said we're really the Uber for motorcycle taxis. What we really want to be is the on-demand platform for Africa, right? So we're starting with motorcycle taxis. Very soon, probably within the month, we'll launch cars in Lomé. Very soon after that, we're moving to other products and other services. So really, the model for us is more like a Gojek, if you're familiar with the company, than an Uber. We want to be able to provide all the services, on-demand products to users in the region, and we think we could build a very defensible company by being first to market in these regions and being very close to users, and that means both drivers and passengers. So we've raised $1 million already, so we have a 30-plus month run rate, and we don't necessarily need to raise money right now. But again, part of our strategy, we think it's a very winning strategy, is to expand very aggressively across Francophone Africa. You heard the investors, which I said was fortuitous. They told you the opportunity is there. They told you is now, and we're proof. What we're seeing in the marketplace as we're already making progress and launching in Cotonou, what we're hearing, partnerships that are potentially on the table, the opportunity there is real. But so we're expanding. We're seeking this 1.5 million to do a few things. One is to, as I talked about, we want to be very user-centric. So we want to hire a CTO. We want to hire a product team that is dedicated to having the most user-centric application for on-demand on the continent. And we also want to hire just a global expansion team. We want to hire teams in the cities and countries I mentioned. And lastly, we also want to hire operations teams, so localized operations teams in the field, and also global operations teams. So thank you for your time. At Gozem, we're building the future of, hold on. We're building the future of transport in Africa. And if you want to join us, whether as an investor, as an employee, as a partner, feel free to reach out to me directly. Thank you.
How does it feel talking to 80,000 people?
It feels good, Steve. You guys weren't here this morning, but it was a different experience.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I told you a few of the companies you will see are not coming to ask for money. So here we have Gozem. They raise money. They're okay. But they're looking for team members. They're looking for customers. They're looking for some investors who will be advising them, not necessarily giving them money off the bat, even though I don't know why. I've never met a Nigerian man who said no to money. It's the first time ever, right? So let's see some of the judges who will be coming in, not to necessarily talk about money, right? Because money is part of it, but not all of it. But these judges are coming to beat him up on different aspects of the business, along with other entrepreneurs. All the way from Silicon Valley, from a company called Square, is my good friend, Mr. Chanda Mufuka. Chanda, please join us. Also from Silicon Valley, my other good friend, Ms. Jess Adamako. Jess, please join us. One of the most globally innovative companies when it comes to innovation entrepreneurship is Endeavor. Is Norfolk with us here today? Please put your hands together for Norfolk. And then finally, from Mazars, Mr. Hassan Aluf. Please put your hands together for Hassan.
Hi, really good job with the products here and the presentation. So one of the questions that I had is why start with motorcycles? Why not cars? Why?
Yeah, no. So if you look, I actually took some slides out of this deck for the time. But if you look at the market, it's really a motorcycle-centric market. A lot of people, car ownership rates are very low, for example, and streets are very bad. So even people who can't afford cars prefer motorcycles in many cases. So just we're looking at what the market really is today. That's not to say that, as I mentioned, in the next few weeks, we're going to launch cars. We just think the opportunity right now, where we're starting, is bigger. In Lomé, in Benin, in Yaoundé, is bigger with motor taxis.
Okay. And then the other question I had was on, so when the rider calls the ride, do they get an estimation of how much they might pay?
So they get an estimation in the app. So the calls just tend to be when something happens. If I ordered, but then something else happened, so I left, the driver arrives and says, "You're not here, what's going on?" I arrived. So that's, in terms of the calls, it's just to facilitate if people miss each other. But in terms of your question, the estimate, that happens inside the app.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well done. It was an incredible presentation. The question that I have has to do with your marginal costs. I think that it does make sense that you're targeting the market that you are and starting with motorcycles. But one of the key values that you're adding is safety. And in doing so, you've structured in insurance as an offering. Can you talk a little bit about how you're planning to maintain lower marginal costs with adding in these kinds of structures?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. I think what makes sense is to really explain to you the thought process behind why we're doing some of these things other players are not. So from my experience at Uber, I was there at Uber when I saw Taxify come to the market in Nigeria and really take a lot of share from Uber. And what happened, the reason for that, there wasn't very strong driver loyalty. When another option was in the market, drivers jumped ship like that. They weren't loyal to Uber, who had just lowered prices and raised commission. Right? So what we want to do is be the opposite. When I say user-centric, that's not just passengers, that's drivers too. Drivers are also our users. So we want to really have a very strong base of loyal users. So in case someone had the question, what happens if Uber comes to the market? We know what kind of creates that moat, what kind of creates that defensibility. For all platforms like this, is having a really strong engagement, really strong loyalty between the platform and the service provider. So in terms of your question specifically, as we move into other products, that naturally there won't be insurance like this necessarily that we're involved with, first of all. Secondly, as we grow, we also will look at having insurance as an additional revenue stream. We increasingly have a pool of 6,000 drivers, informal economy workers in one place. That kind of data, that kind of access is very valuable to banks, to insurers, to a whole swath of people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really an awesome presentation. Enjoyed it very much. And I congratulate you on being ambitious to actually go to several countries and compete to big companies such as Uber. This is great, and it's coming from Africa. So my first question is actually, how old have you been operational? I missed that maybe.
Start of the month.
So it's very
in terms of the app being available, but we've been on the ground for several months, meeting with drivers, talking to users, understanding the marketplace.
Sure. My second question is actually user acquisition. I understand that you've had over 6,000 drivers, but what about your user acquisition? What's your strategy to actually go target them? Security is an aspect, so how do you communicate to that? How much investments are you allocating to actually acquiring the customers?
It's a very good question. A good amount of the investment we're seeking is for marketing purposes. But the very unique thing about the markets we're operating in is the cost of marketing is a lot lower. In these markets, the marketing channel is really Facebook. And by Facebook, I mean Facebook.com, but also WhatsApp. A lot of our viral videos get shared and reach further than TV, because a lot of people don't watch TV or can't afford Canal Plus in our markets. So we see very strong engagement from the campaigns we've done on Facebook. It's just organic. People are taking selfies on Gozem. People are sharing gifts of Gozem on WhatsApp. It's a very new thing to the marketplace. We're the first app of this kind people have used in this market. So it's just organically, it spreads. So that's something that's also very interesting and exciting for us. But to your question, we're absolutely going to invest a lot in actually in other marketing channels as well.
To actually turn them as clients, not just actually only be aware of the application, but actually download it and use it. That's very important. Okay.
Yeah, very soon. So this is an APK only. We're effectively in a beta period right now. Very soon we'll be on the App Store. Okay. And to your point, awareness campaign start.
Okay. And my last question is, I see that one of the options is to collect cash. I mean, to pay cash, basically. The customer can pay cash. So how will you collect, actually? Because mobile payments and...
I'm glad you asked that question.
But then how would the company use that? Because you're based on commission, but then how would you be collecting it?
I'm glad you asked that question. I just had to skip quickly for time reasons. But that's one of the reasons we have a wallet in the app. So that wallet is on both the driver application and the passenger application. So the driver also has a wallet in the app. The driver's balance must be above a certain amount to be able to receive cash trips. So the specific answer to your question, we take the money before the driver receives the cash because that money is already in his wallet. So it's, again, Uber does not have this. It's a wallet system that we're pioneering in the marketplace.
Smart move. Thank you.
Thank you again for your presentation and your clear engagement. I just wanted you to share with us two topics. As you know, Uber is currently facing a lot of social issues all around the world. How do you feel you will be able to solve this topic at your level?
Yeah, no, Uber is facing more than social issues. But
Sure.
I think the key risks we see operationally, I think the key risk we see as a company is attracting talent. So if you're interested in joining us, it's gozem.co, not gozem.com, gozem.co. But externally, to your point, operationally, kind of the key challenges we see are kind of political, regulatory risks, and then kind of security risks, right? Which is kind of, I think, what you're alluding to with Uber. Uber has been in markets where you have established kind of syndicates of drivers who are not happy with this interloper coming in and stealing their clients, right? So we're very sensitive to that. What we're actually doing, when I say professional drivers, that map I showed with 6,000 drivers, we're starting with the professional driver, with the syndicates, if you want to call them that. It's not a union, but we're starting with the guys who would cause the trouble. We're not going out and saying anybody can join us. We're saying we want to start with you, the person who's been driving for 10 years, the person who's there 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we're working closely with these guys, and this is one of the reasons we're even starting in Lome is to understand the dynamics, right? So another question we get sometimes is why start in Lome? It's a small market. For us, the goal is not Lome. We're not a Togo company. We're a Pan-African company from day one. So what we're doing in Lome right now is building out our processes, learning how to acquire drivers, learning how to acquire customers in a cost-effective way in West Africa. So once we acquire this knowledge, we could go spin out Benin, spin out Cameroon, spin out other markets very quickly.
All right. And then the other topic is how confident you are if those measures, Uber's, Karim, and the others, decide to invest significantly in the region you are targeting? What are the breaks to your expansion?
Yeah, so when I was there, Uber was talking about coming to Francophone West Africa. I was there in 2016. So Uber is now, at least Uber has advertised a post for Abidjan. So that tells us Uber is now taking Abidjan seriously. So we know they're coming to the market. Look, we're not scared of competing with Uber. Our strategy is not to compete head on. We're not going to Nigeria from day one. We're not going to markets where they are from day one. If they come to us, we want to be first in the marketplace because we feel we can create a stronger loyalty than Uber can in these markets. I've seen it firsthand. Uber, Nigeria, West Africa is a sliver of revenue. After everything I showed you, compare that to earning power of Europeans, earning power of Americans. It's a smaller, lower earning power for us on the continent. So Uber, in my view at least, Uber doesn't take it so seriously, so they're not able to react as fast as we'll be able to. So that's why I'm very confident if they come to our market.
Thank you.
Quick question on the wallet. Is that a third-party wallet or is that proprietary?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part.
The wallet, is that a third-party app?
No.
Someone else built
No, this is a seamless integration.
Okay.
So I skipped, I didn't speak to it, but it was on one slide. One of the things we want to actually do in the future, when the product feature updates, is really expanding the capabilities of that app. But it's Gozem app, it's integrated. You could top up that wallet with T-Money in our market with mobile money, T-Money or Flute. You could even top that up with a credit card. So it's in the app, a way to get money into the app. For us, for drivers, it's a way to ensure cash trips, that we get our commission for cash trips.
Yeah. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.